Thanks for tuning in to One-on-One with the Gift. Make sure to please like, comment, and share this video. Also, please subscribe and click the bell next to the subscribe button and turn on your notifications to get our content as soon as they are uploaded. Thank you. So, hey, Darryl B. Glad to have you as my first guest on One-on-One with the Gift. How's everything?
Everything is good. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to work with you, Kev.
Definitely. So let's get straight into it. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Product of the 60s, one and only child, spoiled rotten, never won for anything. Born in Manhattan, raised in the Bronx.
Okay.
And, I come from a very dysfunctional family. Uh, my pops was not around a lot because he had these things going on, whereas he did a lot of things that wasn't acceptable in the household. So him and my mother separated at a young age.
Okay.
And that, to me, is when my journey started as far as
manhood.
You can't tell me anything.
Yeah.
You're not my father. I do what I want to do.
Okay.
And there was really no discipline in the house.
So you did you see it as now that you're older and you looking back, you felt like that was rebellion, like you were being rebellious?
It was rebellion. It was pain.
Mm-hmm.
It was fear. Because there was times when I always wondered, like, why my dad's not here?
And what would it like be?
What would it be like if he was
okay.
here?
Yeah.
Like some people have a father that teaches them about sex, or a father that teaches them how to ride a bike or throw the football. I had none of that. I had to learn that on my own.
Yeah. So, being that you didn't have a father, what were like your influences? Like, who did you look up to? Anybody when you was growing up?
Yes. May he rest in peace. I had an uncle named Harold, and Harold pretty much raised me.
Yes.
I remember going out in the streets because I was a mama's boy since I was raised by my mother, so I was a little punk. And I would go out and I'd get in fights and I'd run in the house crying for mommy. And Harold would snatch me up and says, no, let's go back out. You're going to fight or you're going to deal with me.
Definitely. So basically your Uncle Harold was more so the father, like a father figure to you.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. So, I mean, when you were younger, as you were talking about when you were young, during that time, what were your dreams at that time? Do you remember?
My dreams was all over the place. Coming from that household of domestic violence, alcohol, weed, parties, it was like I was just caught up. I didn't know what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. I just know that I didn't understand a lot of things that was going on. At the time, remember, in the 60s, there was the Black Panthers. There was James Brown, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. Martin Luther King was killed. John F. Kennedy was killed. There was just a lot of chaos in the black communities.
Yeah.
Coming up as a child and witnessing all that, you really don't know what to hold on to, but you just hold on.
You just hold on. Wow. Yeah, that's deep. So, a little bit like further into your childhood, you could talk about like your school, like your school path, like how was school for you?
School was easy. I wasn't a dumb child.
Okay.
I caught on really easily. But like I said, there was something missing with that, not being the father in the household. And I acted out a lot. I wanted to be the class clown. I was always the best dressed. I always had the little girlfriend, no money in my pocket. Because, I was fortunate. I was the one and only child. Yeah. And that created problems also.
Of course,
haters.
How was all right. I know the haters back then they different than the haters now, but how was it, like how did they operate back then? The haters back then, for the people who wasn't around to experience, the haters in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s.
To me, they was more open.
Okay.
Back in those days.
Like
they would let
who,
you know right away.
Okay.
Like, I don't like you.
It was so. Back then, though, people misconstrue. It was more principle.
Yes, absolutely.
So even with the hating, they had principle with the hating.
They had principles with the hating.
But nowadays, people they hate behind your back and you won't know, right?
Exactly.
So there's a difference, yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah, Yeah, well, at least principal. Give it up for principal, right? So back to the upbringing. You said you were raised in the Bronx.
Yes.
How old were you growing up in the
Uh,
Bronx?
from about 3 years old till I was about 17.
Okay,
I lived in the
okay.
Bronx.
Oh, so you basically, yeah, your
Yeah.
teenage years,
This is
yeah.
where I learned the street stuff, the gang stuff, and it's also where I learned about hip hop because it started there, and I was there when it started.
So speaking of hip hop, have you seen any of those legendary MCs back then when you were growing up? Did you come
Of course,
across?
one of my friends was on the Furious Five, Cowboy. You know, he went to
Wow.
school with me and everything. And there was so many others like Africa Bambaataa from Bronxville Projects. You know, these are cats that I knew. You know, and to see them turn into what they turned into afterwards, it was a blessing. I was asked to be a part of that era, but to me, I thought hip hop was corny. I was like, nah, man, the streets is where it's at. I don't want to spin turntables or dance, nothing like that. What's that gonna do? You know, but
Yeah.
that turned out right for them though.
That's good. That's good. That's good. So, being that you were close with people, particularly we say in the industry, um, you didn't have no train of thought of going that direction.
No. You
So
know, I could say I was a runaway train, you know, a rebel without a cause.
okay,
Because, see, back then, black folks didn't go to psychiatrists. We didn't have therapy. We
yeah,
was always taught what happens in the household stays in the
household,
household. Macho, man up, men don't cry. So we held in a lot of stuff. And as a result of me holding in a lot of stuff, I acted out a lot, not knowing why I was doing it. Today I understand why. There was too much going on, and I had to find some way to let it go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. So to get more deeper in the Bronx, you said that's where you learned your street stuff. You
Yes.
learned street stuff in the Bronx. So you want to break down a little bit more into that?
Well, at any given day, walking in the Bronx, especially on Tremont Avenue on the east side, guys would approach you and actually turn you upside down and shake you to get the change out your pocket. I mean, there was an incident one time when,
Real life bullies.
yeah,
Yeah.
one time me and my mother went shopping with one of my friends, and she had to go to another appointment, and it was snowing outside like a blizzard. And she trusted me and my friend to carry the cart home with the food. It had like 6 bags of food. You know, mind you, we poor, we on welfare. This is all we got right now for the month. And we took a side street.
Yeah.
And as we turned down the side street, some dude came up to it that was much bigger than us, and he just grabbed both of us by our mouth and picked us up off the ground and held us. We couldn't scream, we couldn't get it loose. And what happened was 2 other dudes come out of nowhere, picked up the cart, and ran and disappeared in the snow. Then the guy drops us in the snow, pushes our head down, and runs off. That's the Bronx.
Seriously?
Yes. My mother had to go around the building that week begging people for food so we could eat. That's part of the Bronx life.
So that was real, like at a time where poverty was real straight. Like poverty was strong, real strong at that time.
I just want to describe to you
Mm-hmm.
on any given night the things that I see. Excuse me. I remember, right? My mother had a 1 bedroom apartment, and her bedroom was in the back of the house. So whenever they had parties or get-togethers,
Yeah.
she would say, "You go in the room. I don't want you around what we're doing up here." And I would go in the room, and we had this window where we can look out and we can see, like, on Arthur Avenue. That's where I'm from, 178th Street, Arthur Avenue. And I used to sit in the window and watch. Right across the street, we had a bunch of stores, cleaners, barbecue place. We had a bank downstairs on the corner. And at any given night, when I would look out the window, I would see the nightlife people.
Okay.
Like, there would be a caravan of yellow cabs that would pull up every night at a certain time, and all these women would get in different cabs.
Mm.
Makeup, wigs, hot pants, go-go boots. And then this other car that was fancy with the antennas and the fly slogans on it would pull up and follow the cabs.
Yeah.
I learned later on in life that was a pimp with all his hoes going to the stroll.
Wow.
Then you would see...
So it was working.
Yeah, then you would see cats on the rooftops on the other buildings that were lower than mine, breaking the roof open, going into the cleaners and all the other establishments, coming out with the roof with all kind of stuff like carpets, TVs. And I'm looking saying, wow, look at this. Then you would have the dope fiends, because back then, dope was $2 a bag. And these guys would be out there peddling their stuff, and they would be hiding in the corner sometime. And when people came, like professional businessmen, to drop off their nightly deposits in the bank, because they had a little deposits machine they put it in, they would be hiding in the corners or behind trucks. And as soon as they come out the cab to drop it off, they would run up on them, yo, man, there's a stick up, let me get that. I was attracted to that because that's what I saw every night at a certain time.
Wow.
Like, TV didn't interest me. I opened the window to watch what was going on in the hood.
Life was your TV.
That was my TV.
That was your TV.
That
Right
was
out the
my
window.
upbringing. And I didn't share that with nobody. I was like, wow, look at this, look at that.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how I grew up to emulate most of those things.
Wow. Yeah. Product of your environment.
Exactly.
So, now we're going to get into how the incarceration started. So, when was the first time you've been incarcerated?
First time I was incarcerated, I was 16 years old. And what had happened was me and my little friends was out on the block, and we was washing my stepfather's car. And this guy came through, he was intoxicated. And my friends started, like messing with him, throwing things at him, hitting him with the towel. And they started running. I'm paying no attention to it because, I'm washing this car. I'm trying to get paid, Let me wash
How old
this
were
car.
you again at this time?
I was 16.
16?
So,
yeah, kids, yo.
before I knew it, man, like, this guy came up on me and he grabbed me by my neck. And he picked me up off the ground. Like, I was gasping for air,
Yeah.
Like, and he was just choking. And one of my friends came up and he kicked him or hit him with something, and the guy let me go. So after he let me go, like, I ran across the street because my friend had a driveway where the two gates closed, and then they had that little pole that sticks in the ground.
Okay.
So I grabbed the pole, run back across the street, and I go like this to hit the guy in the head with it, and he went like this, and I hit him in the ribs. Right?
Yeah.
And he goes down, he's on the ground. By that time, my mother comes out because, the nosy neighbors went and told
They're
me,
already,
your son's out there, somebody's bothering him. So she comes down, and she's cursing the guy out, telling him don't mess with my son. Anyway, long story short, I got arrested for that, and they took me to the precinct. But the thing that worked in my favor was that half the neighborhood came down and was like, listen, it's not his fault. That man grabbed him first. He wasn't doing anything but washing the car, and that was my first arrest.
Wow. So, but the community came behind your back.
Yes.
That's what we're missing nowadays too.
Yes.
Community.
Yes.
Is a broken community nowadays, but it was strong to see that the community came behind your back because your first arrest was basically self-defense.
Self-defense.
That's crazy, but anything to get you in the system. Oh, man. So, what can you tell us what was the environment like when you first entered? Like, not say prison, but like, the jail cells, like going inside the precincts and like the precincts, start from that journey.
To be honest, it was scary because you're stepping into something, the unknown.
Yeah, don't know.
You hear stories about it, you see it on TV, but you really don't know until you have to experience it. And it was scary, man.
But explain around that time. What year was that?
This was 1976.
1976. So it's a way different system. So I understand at that time too, because if you think about it, probably a decade before that, a civil rights leader was killed and he was fighting for equality. So you don't know where you're at in the stature of life. And I know you're going through, you see, when you do see the news, say you see the news, how they talk about the black people back then and stuff like that. So I understand the fear in that because now you're surrounded by them.
Yes.
So yeah, now you can break down a little bit more detail.
Okay, I eventually went to prison to go upstate in 1977. I was 17. Now, what had happened between 76 and 77 in that first arrest, I wound up catching 3 more arrests, all felonies, violent. Reason being, um, in the early 70s, there was a way of life called the 5% Nation.
Okay.
And a lot of us gravitated towards it because it was something different. And the lessons were very powerful. However, you had to have someone to break it down for you in order for you to understand it. We didn't have the breakdown, so we just read what was on black and white and ran with it. The lessons told me that there was a white man that was a devil that kidnapped my people from a certain land and raped us and robbed us and taught us different languages. And he's a devil, and by nature, I'm the God of the universe, and I don't have to go for that. So my whole mission was to go out there and attack them back because I didn't know no better.
Okay. I understand. So basically, what you was taught. Where actually were you taught this though? Was this in when you was incarcerated or
This
right
5%
before?
Nation thing was all over. It was in the jail
So
system, it
so
was in the streets.
so before you got incarcerated,
Yes.
it was already
It was already
installed.
out here in the streets in all the boroughs,
Okay,
strong.
okay,
Strong.
okay. Understandable. So basically, it was more so a race thing though to keep basically you protection, but it was more so like just teaching you about the past of the black ancestry and basically protect one another. This is like one nation. We protect each other as black black brothers.
Exactly. And it was also a nation that was designed to create peace. This is why the greetings is peace
Peace.
when they see each other.
Yes.
You know, but as time went on, it kind of got diluted,
Like everything
and
else.
it no longer was what it was supposed to
Just to
be.
be, yeah.
And I looked at it as though, wow, this is just like being in a gang. And at that time in my life, I was leaving the gang stuff behind.
Yeah.
However, the lessons, the history, the showing and proving, and all the things, not eating pork, stuff like that, are still the things I practice today. However, I don't proclaim to be God body, but I still have knowledge of self because you're never going to stop remembering the stuff that you was taught or what you learned.
Definitely.
It's just that you utilize it in a different way now because we know that you just can't go out here and start just characterizing people like they're this, they're that, and I hate them, and they did this because that's not how this works.
Yeah.
Right here, you have to use this today. Back then we used this or whatever, and that's not how you get your point across. That's just ignorance. You have to find another way, man, to make this system better.
Definitely. So you said it was 1976 when in between 1976 1977 you was catching felony charges.
Yes.
So when you first got sent upstate, can you break that down on to the people, like basically just like the experience from you getting entering the building and probably like leaving that first time, the first time you went and the first time you left?
Terrified.
Okay.
A young kid, skinny. They call it pretty in jail, no hair on your face.
Mm-hmm.
I stuck out like a sore thumb. I wasn't no real criminal. However, I had heart. And I go through there, and even though there's this fear, you can't let nobody know there's a fear because now you become a victim. And I was blessed because there were people that were already in there that were older than me and knew of my family that were already there and established. So they took me under the wing, so I didn't have any problems.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and but unfortunately, unlike your story of going in jail, a lot of people don't have that kind of, basically, I don't want to say luck. I don't want to say luck, but just establishment. So, like, can you explain of ever meeting somebody coming in for the first time while you was there? Saying like your first time there, meeting other new people who first time is also.
Well,
How was that experience?
it was fair, like I said, and what we did was the ones that were afraid or didn't know anybody, we stuck together. Like, all right, anything happened to one of us, it gotta happen to all of us. The one thing that was also a plus for me, it was that I was guard body, and the jail was filled with them. So all you had to do was show and prove. Who are you? Where you from? And you automatically, you ain't got no problems. So that helped in a way. But God bless it, Ed, there was a cat in there named Baldy who passed away recently. And he's the same cat, man, that helped save me one time when I first went upstate. You know, and it was quite a few of these cats, man, that, like I said, I was just blessed. I was fortunate because back then, rape, robbery, extortion was big in the prison system. Not just the inmates themselves. Excuse me, I don't like to use that word. The convicts. But the officers was down with this too. And they allow certain things to go on, and sometimes they would turn their back when certain things happened because it was like, you know what, you're a criminal, go for yours. And there was also officers in there that would take off their belt and their radio and give you a one-on-one. Times have changed now. One thing I can say is that the morals, the values, and the unity, we brought that from the street into the prison system. We stuck together. It didn't matter if me and you didn't see eye to eye. We might have beef, we in the same hood or whatever, or you representing something, I'm representing something. But if me and you fighting and the police coming there talking about, oh, we're going to bust y'all in the head, we would stop fighting. And me and you would become a team to fight against them. That's no longer in existence today. But it was back then in the 70s.
And that's where we go back to principles.
Yes.
It's not a lot of principles installed in the youth, honestly, and that's why you're gonna start seeing all these wild, situations and stories, and it's like back then you could see people had some type of care for one another still. Like, all right, we don't like each other, but you my brother.
You my brother.
At the end of the day, we're the same. At the end of the day. And nowadays I see a lot. The youth would probably sell their friends out quicker than.
Listen, I just left situations, man, where I've seen a whole gang up against the wall, and they would snatch one out, stomping them, beating them, whatever they do, and everybody on the wall talking about, yo, man, that's messed up what they doing to homie. Are you serious? Y'all down together and you gonna allow them to do that to him? Like, you not gonna go all out with your man, but y'all a clique? This is why today, man, I don't judge. However, I recognize things for what they are. And a lot of these people that are running around with this and that, a lot of it's for protection, man. Like, they're not really about it because, you know what, at the end of the day, it should be us against them. Regardless to what flag you have or whatever. Listen, man, they are against us. Because to me, to be honest, the biggest gang in America is law enforcement. And that goes with the police, COs, POs. That's the biggest gang, man. And they stick together.
Definitely, they have their codes.
Yes.
So, all right. Now you can speak on how many times in total again were you incarcerated?
I did 4 state bids, a total of 20 years that I lost and I can never get back. However, I don't look at that as something negative because it has given me something called experience, which is you can't put a price tag on it. You see, because like I said, I know what it was in the 70s. I know what it was in New Millennium because I was there. So I seen the change. I seen how when we had so much going for us in the 70s, even in the prison system, because all those brothers died in the Attica riot so that we could have certain things, how slowly but surely to this day, they done took all that away from us. All of it.
That's crazy. And that's important for our listeners and viewers because, like you said, you've been there in the 70s and you've been there in the new millennium. A lot of people can't say that, but you've seen the changes in the jail system. You've seen the changes in these places. Can you explain a little more about like the second time you've been to
The
jail?
first, second, and third time was just party time.
Okay.
You know, I went in there. There was no thing about changing. There was no thing. Listen, I'm gonna be a better criminal. I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna watch videos, whatever, and I'm gonna get high, and I'm gonna go back out in them streets, and I'm gonna get mine. That was my mindset. There was nothing about changing, doing anything different. Listen, nothing changes, nothing changes. And as a result of that, every time I came back, within a year or two, I was right back in there. Didn't even get a chance to finish parole half the time.
Yeah. So I noticed when you said like, it was a party. It was a party. So like, do you feel the addiction was a strong part of it?
It's funny you asked that. It played a major part. You know, first and foremost, before I talk about the addiction, let's talk about what leads up to addiction.
Okay. Yes.
Attitudes and behaviors.
Yeah.
Okay. Addiction is only 10% of the problem.
Okay.
That's why they say once you put it down, then you got to do some other stuff. You got to work on some stuff. You know, addiction played a major part because I remember every time I got arrested, besides the last bid, I was always under the influence of something.
Wow.
Every time.
Wow.
Yes.
That's deep. That's deep. That's deep. So with the other things, what were the other things that you did pick up to do when you decided to put it down, as you said?
I had to change everything. You know?
So this is more so going into the last bid.
Yes. In 2009,
Mm-hmm.
I was convicted of a crime that was never proven. My prints was left at a store, and I was basically convicted on my record. Um, I'm still fighting the case. My case is in federal court, federal hate, and I look forward to the outcome of that. When I went to prison in 2009, I had just started getting involved in recovery, and when I finally got arrested, I was so bitter because I felt like, wow, I shouldn't be here, and I looked at my age. I was 49 years old, getting ready to face 10 years. And I was like, wow, it's kind of old being in prison, man. Like, so I was bitter. And the first thought was my disease kicked in and I wanted to go into the system and become a monster. I wanted to sell drugs. I wanted to bang. I wanted to just get all this aggression that I had out of me. Just be the animal that they told me I was in trial.
Wow. Wow.
However, when you are in the process of change, which is what recovery is, you may not be paying attention to everything, but certain things will click. Like you hear the slogans, like stick around for the miracle, or keep coming back, or you in the right place, and those things started hitting me like after the trial thing, and I said to myself, if I go backwards, what am I proving? They're just gonna say, see, we knew he was right. Look at this animal. He should be locked up. So I made a commitment to myself. I'm going to turn this around. You see, because I couldn't understand for the life of me why was I this age calling myself being slick, hip, and cool and a hustler all my life, and I didn't even have enough money for a lawyer. Something was wrong with that picture. Wow. Then I looked at all my friends and some family members that didn't live the life of crime. They had jobs, they had cars, they had homes, they was married, they had a nice household. Me, I had crack pipes and stems and needles in my arm. But I'm the cool guy. So I said to myself, Darryl B, you gotta do something different. So I just totally denounced negativity. I denounced street life. I denounced all that hip, slick, and cool. And I said, you know what? I'm just gonna be me, Darryl B.
Yes. And
I took all that experience, all that knowledge that I gained over the years, and I put it all in one and practiced that recovery thing. And now here I am, man. This is what I'm doing, man. Giving back.
That's a beautiful thing, man. For even your mind to, consume all that at once to hit you, I know it hurts you, and like when you're thinking about, certain things, you don't regret it, but it's like, damn, like, yeah, like I really had to go through this to see that there's a bigger picture and a better way for me after this. I don't want to go back. I understand that. So speaking on, how you focused and got your mind stable, right? We just want to know, like, how do you keep your mind stable and focused to stay on the path that you're on right now, like from your last release?
For the 8 years I did, I realized that there are a lot of people in this world that are professionals.
Yes.
In order to be a professional, you have to practice. So what I did for the whole 8 years was practice positive stuff. I got involved in all positive programs. I even was like a underpaid counselor in prison. Yes. Counseling the worst of the worst.
Yeah, get into more detail about that.
Okay, I got a job. All right, first of all, they make everybody a porter when you first go there.
Okay.
And then a few guys had heard me, speaking, and they went and told some people that was in charge, hey, listen, this guy could be more than a porter, man. Like, he could really help people find their way because he's that dude. He's for real about this. He's not playing. So they gave me a shot, and it was called Phase 1. In Phase 1, it was like orientation. Okay. So every time someone came through the door in the prison knew they had to come see me. I would help you get your birth certificate, your social security card. If your people needed transportation to the prison system, I gave you forms to fill out. If you needed a mentor, I got you that. And I also showed you how that particular prison worked. What to look out for, what not to do, what you can do. And at the end of all that,
Wait, can we just backtrack? So you actually gave them a blueprint of what to do, what not to do in jail.
Absolutely.
Knowing that a lot of people don't even get that type of, what should I say? They don't get that, I don't want to say luck again, but like, you don't get that type of, awareness. Like, that's a beautiful thing that they aligned you and put you into a place where you can help the newcomers and the youth. That was really great.
But I'm gonna be honest with you. It wasn't an easy job.
It don't sound like it.
Because you gotta understand something. In the prison system now, you got a lot of dudes that are stuck in their ways and don't want any help. Then you got a lot of dudes that's coming in that's afraid, and they have these masks and these walls that they put up that they tough. And I dealt with all of them, man. And I just was myself, and I was being honest. Like, if you don't want to be here in this classroom with me, then you're free to walk out the door. I'm not policing nobody, man. But when you do get caught being out of place, don't say that I told you to leave. You left on your own. I mean, it was just a phase that you had to go through that didn't last very long. And then I kind of like, I got staff to understand that maybe we should give them more incentives. So at the end of everything, we would give them shower shoes, soap, deodorant, and sometimes, man, out of my own pocket, because I always walked around with a bunch of stamps for this reason. Hey, man, you just got here, you might not go to commissary in a while, the phone probably isn't on, and people got to put, some people have hardship in prison. I would say, listen, man, who needs a stamp? Sometimes everybody in that room would raise their hand. They would be surprised. I pull out a whole booklet, like, here. Yo, that's good looking, man. Yo, I'm going to give it. You don't have to give me anything, man. That's on the strength, man. Write your people, let them know where you are, let them know you okay, man.
Yeah.
And these are some of the things that I learned, and as I learned to do things like that more often, the blessings that were bestowed upon me was crazy. Like, yeah.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. So now, sorry to switch it up a little bit, but can you talk about like the probation era and like parole and how that is conducted in New York?
Okay.
For the listeners and viewers.
Today, parole and correction are one. They join forces. It wasn't like that before. They were separate.
Okay, so
now they're together.
All right.
And to me, it's very non-caring. Like, if you don't come out with a plan, knowing what you have to do and go ahead and do it, then you can easily get lost. Because these parole officers, and not all of them are like this, some of them are really good, are too overwhelmed with work to cater to everybody's needs. Basically, they go according to what the parole board says. If it says you got to go to a drug program or you got to go to ART or whatever it is, then it says, all right, you got to go. And either they'll give you a referral or they'll tell you, yo, you got to get there the best way you can. So it's like, if you don't have a plan, then you're in trouble. Like, you really have to come out and know exactly what it is you have to do and stick to your plan no matter what. I have a parole officer, man, that he just admires the way I move. He said, listen, man, I wish I had everybody on my, whatever they call it,
basically
supervision,
roster. Yeah.
Like you.
Supervision, yeah.
He said, because I don't have to worry about you, man. He says, you came out, you had a plan, you did X, Y, Z, you got your certifications, you went to work. He said, I come by the house, you obeyed the curfew. He says, man, listen, if everybody did that, man, we would all get along a lot better, man. He said, you make my job so easy. And that's what I need.
And that message right there would probably, save a couple lives and help a couple lives on parole, just to make them focus up and wise up, words of wisdom from Darryl B. That's good. That's good. So with the parole dude, so like basically it built like or understanding in basically a easier time, not easier time for you, but basically it makes everything more comfortable as far as when you're dealing with your parole.
Absolutely. To be completely honest, man, like, I've been to about 2 or 3 programs since I've been home.
Okay.
Doing the parole thing, and even at work. And it seems like this new way of living that I've incorporated into my life seems to be working in all areas of my life. And I kid you not, because I go to see the parole, or I go see my therapist, or I go to a program, and they tell me that they need to see me, and it's going to take 15 minutes to do some paperwork or whatever, and I wind up staying with these people for 2 and 3 hours, and they're actually telling me what's going on in their life.
Wow.
Just general conversation. And it's like, when you bring to the table empathy, respect, and knowledge, people gravitate towards that. Remember, we live in New York. This is a fast town. Sometimes when you telling somebody what you're going through, they don't even want to hear it because they got their own thing they're going through. Definitely. But when you can sit down with a person that can relate to just about anything, especially when people hear, oh, you're in recovery, Now they want to tell me all about their family members and this and that and how they're struggling and what should they do. And my thing is, you know what, man? Like, this is all conditioning me to do what I want to do, which is
Definitely.
basically help people.
See how God works? Yeah,
Yes.
that's wow, that's very deep. That's very deep. So like back to like your experience in prison. So now we're gonna just talk about the last time, which was 2009. Um, watching newcomers come in, you did break down how people bring they create a wall and a mask to hide their fears, and you see people who just act like they don't care or stuff like that. Was there anything that stuck out when you see newcomers around that time of your 2009 incarceration?
What stuck out more than anything was that I was looking at a generation that me and a lot of my peers helped stray in the wrong direction. See, a lot of these kids looked up to us and the things that we did in the communities, and they tried to imitate us.
Yeah.
And they wound up getting caught up just like we did. You see, going up north used to be a badge of honor in the streets. Like if you went up north and you came home, you was that guy. There's no such thing. Let me tell you something. Anyone that goes to prison is a loser. Straight like that. You lost. You didn't win in trial. You got arrested. You lost. You couldn't make bail. Your people got to take care of you. You're taking your family through the mills. You're a loser.
Working for crazy
Listen, man, I
wages.
made $15 every 2 weeks as a counselor. And I did more work than the counselors. That's the price you pay, though. But the experience.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah,
That's all I kept telling them. It ain't about the money. It's about me gaining some experience, which I'm utilizing today.
that's beautiful. That was an entrepreneur. Like you had entrepreneur thinking when you utilized the tools they gave you and turned it into something positive for yourself, where you can now help others. That's inspirational right there. So what stuck with you from being what should I say? What stuck with you from being like in prison after you got released? Like the besides the experience that you had with working as a counselor, but like just like something like that can help somebody else who goes through the incarceration life.
What worked for me?
And might have more than 20 years of your time.
What worked for me more than anything was my hunger. You see, I'm not just talking food. I'm talking about every time I accomplished something, I wasn't satisfied. Yeah. I wanted more. I wanted to go to the next level. And that's why I always tell people, yeah, it's cool to talk about what I did here, what I did that, but you need to think about what I'm going to do next, because that's where I'm at. Sky's the limit. They told me if I put that thing down, get my marbles back, and start using them the right way, sky's the limit. I can do anything I want. And that's how I feel today. And anything that I've touched so far, I've been able to complete it from the beginning to the end. I wasn't always like that. I always used to sabotage my success. Because just when I get ready to graduate or get this certificate or whatever, I would do something really stupid.
That set you steps
and
back.
And it just take everything away. Wow. But today, nah, man, I want to start this and I want to finish it. And then, all right, what's next?
Well, they say a smart man learns from his own mistakes, but a wise man learns from others. But you went through a smart process. Basically, that experience gave you like the tough interior of how you're not going to feed into all the negativity, because it's easy to feed into negativity nowadays. And even back then, it's easy to feed into negativity, but it takes a certain strength to stay on a positive note and walk down a straight path. So like that is a gift, and that is a blessing, and that's something that you did build up inside of you, that you said, hey, well, I'm gonna have this moral in me, and I'm not gonna let influences of other people, negativity, take me down, drag me back, step me. Because sometimes things really not your fault. It's just a reaction to somebody else's, doing. Sometimes the cause and reaction is somebody say self defense, like you did, like you said in the beginning. The first time you got arrested was self defense. You got arrested for self defense, defending yourself. Sometimes, most of the time, from what I'm hearing, is like certain slaps on, like certain things that should be slaps on the wrist. Like they take it a step further. Like, I don't think that you should have been incarcerated, but your parent picking you up from the precinct and not going through bookings and stuff like that. That's what I don't get. So when can you say the turning point in your 2009 bid? You did say you're done. Was it in the beginning? Exactly in the beginning, when you wanted to make the turning
It was
point.
actually before I was remanded, because I was out on bail.
Okay, so you were out on bail.
Right, and I blew trial and they remanded me. And I was standing on the courtroom steps.
Okay.
And if you look down the block in Queens Supreme Court on Queens Boulevard,
Yeah.
you will see that there's a train car on the lawn with the number 7 on it. And I looked at that and I says, wow, that's what they do in Queens. They railroad people. And why would they have the 7 car on there? Doesn't the 7th letter in the alphabet start with a G? But we'll go into that a little later. But anyway, my lawyer comes up, right? And I passed my girlfriend the cigarette. She taking a few pulls, she get ready to throw it out.